Good evening and welcome to the virtual open house for the Central Elgin Official Plan update. This meeting is an opportunity to discuss the vision for growth in Central Elgin as we're starting out in the process of updating the official plan. My name is Zahra Jaffer. I'm a planner and engagement specialist with Dillon Consulting Limited and will be your facilitator and host for this evening. With us as well tonight are a number of municipality staff and consulting team members, so we're looking forward to having a great session with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Please note that the presentation component of the meeting is being recorded and will be shared on the project website after the meeting, along with a summary of the question and answer period and feedback that we received. So let's get started. We're really looking forward to your participation this evening, and the way that you can do that is by sending us comments using the chat bar at the bottom of your screen, or by sending us questions by clicking on the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen, and you will be able to see questions that come in from other members of the audience as well. So we look forward to taking your questions at the end of the presentation and receiving any comments that you have that will become part of the meeting record. So with us tonight are a number of key team members from the municipality of Central Elgin. We have with us Paul Shipway, the Chief Administrative Officer and Clerk, Lloyd Perrin, the Director of Asset Management and Development Services, Kevin McClure, Planner, and Jim McComb, the Manager of Planning Services. We also have Ron Shishido from Dillon Consulting Limited, who has worked on projects in the community for a number of years and is also leading the technical work on the official plan update to support municipality staff, as well as myself and Nicole Bugley from our engagement team as well, who will be supporting the facilitation. So our agenda for this evening includes a presentation that will give you a bit of a project overview, talk about the related initiatives and projects that connect to the official plan update that are also being undertaken in Central Elgin, talk about the key issues and opportunities for the official plan update, and then go over the engagement opportunities at this stage of the project for you to provide your feedback and input. And then for the rest of the evening, we'll have a Q&A with our panel, and we'll be here to answer any questions that you have and talk more with you about the project and the vision for growth for Central Elgin. So we have a couple of poll questions just to get us warmed up and to get a sense of who's with us in the audience today. You will see a poll pop up on your screen asking, how familiar are you with the Central Elgin official plan? So tell us if you are not at all familiar, meaning you've never looked at it. If you're somewhat familiar, so you know what it is, but not really the details. You're comfortably familiar, so you've referred to it a few times in the past. Or if you're highly familiar, so you work with the official plan on a regular basis. Okay, thank you. And so our poll results show us that folks in the audience are generally either somewhat familiar, comfortably familiar, or highly familiar. So that's great. We'll be covering some of the key nuts and bolts of this official plan update through the presentation, and we'll look forward to answering any questions that you might have afterwards. We also have another poll just to confirm and get a sense of where folks are joining us from today. Are you located in Belmont, in Lyndhurst, in Eastwood, in New Sarum, Orwell, or Sparta, in Norman Lindale, in Union, in Port Stanley, or elsewhere in Central Elgin or outside of Central Elgin? Okay, so we've got folks with us from kind of all over, quite a few from Port Stanley, but also a number from outside of Central Elgin and from all over the municipality. So that's great. Welcome. All right. So a little bit of a project overview to give you a sense of what the official plan update is about. Starting with what is an official plan. So this is essentially the guiding policy documents that provides the framework for growth, for development, and for the protection of the built and natural heritage across the municipality. So it is comprised of policies, it's comprised of mapping and documentation that helps to lay out how development and growth will happen now and into the future. The current official plan was approved in February 13, so it is due for a fairly robust update and is going through a number of background studies to help inform that update. The official plan essentially directs where different types of land uses will go. So where do we work? Where do we live? Where are our parks and open spaces? Where do community centers and different types of institutional uses get accommodated? And then how all of these elements connect to the roads, the trails, the parks, and the open spaces across the municipality. So there are a number of maps in the official plan that help to lay these elements out and to guide the development and growth across the municipality. And it essentially has a 25-year outlook, so it also helps to identify the infrastructure and the servicing needs for the population and for the community as it grows. Why are we updating the official plan? There are a couple of main triggers for this update. One of the key ones is to align with the new provincial policy statement, which is policy guidance from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, which came out in 2020, and the Provincial Planning Act, which has also been updated. So there are new regulations and there are new policies that the municipality has to comply with and to show alignment with through the official plan. And of course, also to prepare for growth to the year 2046 across all of Central Elgin. So over the next 25 years, making sure that the municipality is well set up to make decisions around growth and development. There are 3 phases to the project and to the work that we are doing to update the official plan. The first phase is a project launch, which is being initiated now in the spring of 2021. And this phase of work essentially looks at the vision, the opportunities, and challenges for growth to the year 2046. In phase 2, we will actually be taking feedback that we heard in phase 1 around the vision and around what are the key priorities, and using that to develop the key directions and draft policies to update the official plan. So phase 2 is more of a roll up the sleeves and think about what are the actual elements that need to get updated and how they get updated, and then drafting the policies that accord to each of those sections of the official plan. The final phase is where we bring forward those revised policies after we've gotten some feedback in phase 2, and present that to Central Elgin Council for adoption, and then ultimately to the County of Elgin for approval. And the timeline for that is intended to be in the winter of next year. So I will hand over to Ron Shishido now from Dillon Consulting Limited to talk a little bit about the related projects and initiatives that are going to feed into this official plan update and inform the work that is being done. Ron, you're on mute. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Zahra. Okay, so Central Elgin is carrying out a number of key projects in support of both its current official plan program, that's the 2013 plan, as well as this official plan update program. Next slide, Zahra. So under the 2013 OP program, a secondary land use plan is being prepared to provide the long-term planning framework for the regeneration and repurposing of the Port Stanley Harbor lands. And that policy direction was established in the 2013 plan. The Harbor Secondary Plan is following a separate planning exercise from this OP update. The Central Elgin Affordable Housing Group is working on implementing a number of the key recommendations in the municipality's housing strategy, which was prepared in 2019. And for this 2021 OP update program, a number of key foundation studies are being prepared. Now, Central Elgin just updated its population and housing projections to the year 2046. That's a 25-year projection. And the analysis of the residential land needs to accommodate the projected housing is underway. Now, putting those two studies together, as well as other technical inputs, the strategy for managing growth, the projected growth, will then be developed, and then out of that, some policy directions. Next slide, Zahra. Okay, well, I'll do both. The Central Elgin OP is required to be consistent with provincial policy. We carried out a policy audit of the 2013 official plan, comparing it to the provisions of the new 2020 provincial policy statement. The audit identified a number of policy areas where some updating is required. In addition, some updating is needed to implement various technical studies that have been prepared by Central Elgin, as well as respond to activity in its local communities and address directions from council. These provincial and community level inputs have been categorized under 6 policy themes. And that's the purpose of today's open house conversation. So you see planning for growth, rural and agricultural policy, housing affordability, climate change, hazard lands, and Indigenous community consultation and reconciliation. So on the following slides, we posed a number of questions under each policy theme, and Zahra will review these questions for each of the themes. Zahra?
Great, thank you, Ron. So under planning for growth, the kinds of questions we're talking about and thinking about are, how much land do we need to grow? And does our settlement boundary for the municipality need to change in order to accommodate that growth? Secondly, how will we move around in Central Elgin as we grow? What are the kinds of transportation elements and circulation elements that people will need in order to get from point A to point B across the municipality? How do we support thriving and vibrant communities that meet all our needs at all stages of life so that they can support aging in place and they can support young families, and making sure that everyone in the municipality feels like their needs can be met and that they have the accessibility and the support to be able to meet their needs in the community. In terms of climate change and hazard lands, some of the questions relate to how do we integrate climate change adaptation considerations into our built environment and the protection of our natural environment? How can we reduce our greenhouse gas emissions as a community as we grow and think about reducing our carbon footprint? What protections from natural hazards do we need to support the longevity of the built environment? So what sorts of protections from the kinds of extreme weather events and other natural hazards that are related to climate change need to be planned for? In terms of rural policies, how do we ensure that agricultural and food security elements are assured for our communities into the future? And how can we support the growth of agribusiness through planning policies? So how can the policies of the official plan contain and support employment growth in the agribusiness sector? In terms of housing affordability, which is a critical issue, what are the opportunities to support long-term housing affordability across Central Elgin? And how do we encourage a mix of housing types to cater to all residents at all stages of their life as we grow? And lastly, around Indigenous community consultation and reconciliation, developing policies that are related to Indigenous engagement on planning matters and working towards reconciliation goals as a municipality. as well as providing guidance on public engagement for planning matters with Indigenous communities. So this is the overview of the questions and the key elements that are coming up. We are interested in any feedback or any questions that the audience has that will help us to continue to grow out what these key priority and focus areas are for each of the 6 themes, and making sure that we have a really robust update to the official plan. As part of the review, there are a number of opportunities to participate and get involved outside of this particular meeting. So a survey is currently live on the Let's Talk centralelgin.ca/official-plan-review site, where you can take the survey, you can drop pins on the map. It's a interactive map where you can drop pins and tell us about areas of concern and areas where there are particular things that you think are really working well in Central Elgin that you like about the community, areas where you think growth could be accommodated, and any ideas and suggestions that you might have as a municipality plans for growth. You can also sign up for e-bulletin updates on the Let's Talk centralelgin.ca site, and hope to see you and more members of the community at the next open house, which is planned for the fall of 2021 this year.